Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tadho Jayam Udirayet. Shrinnatam Sakatha Krishna Punyashravana Kirtana Hridyandasto Hyabhadrani Vidhunodhi Suhritsatam Nastya Prayeshwa Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavada Sevaya Bhagavadyuttama Sloke Bhakti Bhavati Naistiki Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yatkripatvamaham Vande Shri Gurum Dinataranam Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 9, Text 7. Nishamya tad vaktr didrikshaya disho vilogya tatranyat apasyamanaha Swadishnyam asthaya vimrishya taddidam tapasyupadishta ivadade mana Nishamya tat vaktra didrikshaya disho vilokya tatranyat apasyamanaha Swadishnyam asthaya vimrishya taddidam tapasyupadishta ivadade mana Nishamya tat vaktr didrikshaya disho vilokya tatranyat apasyamanaha swadhishnyam asthaya vimishrya taddidham tapasyudhi upadishta vivadhate mana. Nishamya, after hearing tat, that. Vaktra, the speaker, Didrikshaya, just to find out who spoke, Disha, all sides, Vilokya, seeing, Tatra, there, Anyat, any other, Apasyamanaha, not to be found, Swadhishnyam, on his lotus seat, Asthaya, sit down, Vimrishya, thinking, Tat, it, Hitam, welfare, Tapasi, in penance, Upadishta, as he was instructed, Iva, in pursuance of, Adadhe, gave, Mana, attention. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. When he heard the sound, he tried to find the speaker, searching on all sides. But when he was unable to find anyone besides himself, he thought it wise to sit down on his lotus seat firmly and give his attention to the execution of penance as he was instructed. Purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. To achieve success in life, one should follow the example of Lord Brahma, the first living creature in the beginning of creation. After being initiated by the Supreme Lord to execute Tapasya, he was fixed in his determination to do it. And although he could not find anyone beside himself, he could rightly understand that the sound was transmitted by the Lord himself. Brahma was the only living being at that time because there was no other creation and none could be found there except himself. In the beginning of the first canto, in the first chapter, first verse of Srimad Bhagavatam, it has already been mentioned that Brahma was initiated by the Lord from within. The Lord is within every living entity as the super soul. And he initiated Brahma because Brahma was willing to receive the initiation. The Lord can similarly initiate everyone who is inclined to have it. As already stated, Brahma is the original spiritual master of the universe. And since he was initiated by the Lord himself, the message of Srimad Bhagavatam is coming down by disciplic succession. And in order to receive the real message of Srimad Bhagavatam, one should approach the current link or spiritual master in the chain of disciplic succession. After being initiated by the proper spiritual master in the chain of succession, one should engage himself in the discharge of Tapasya, in the execution of devotional service. One should not, however, think himself on the level of Brahma to be initiated directly by the Lord from inside, because in the present age, no one can be accepted to be as pure as Brahma. The post of Brahma to officiate in the creation of the universe is offered to the most pure living being. And unless one is so qualified, one cannot expect to be treated like Brahmaji directly. But one can have the same facility through unalloyed devotees of the Lord, through scriptural injunctions as revealed in the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam especially, and also through the bona fide spiritual master available to the sincere soul. The Lord himself appears as the spiritual master to a person who is sincere in heart about serving the Lord. Therefore, the bona fide spiritual master who happens to meet the sincere devotee should be accepted as the most confidential and beloved representative of the Lord. If a person is posted under the guidance of such a bona fide spiritual master, it may be accepted without any doubt that the desiring person has achieved the grace of the Lord. Om Atnanathmirandasya Nananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So, in the translation of these word meanings, pay attention to this. So, these few words. It says, the Lord Brahma sat down on his seat. Asthaya, he sat down and he started thinking, vimirshya, and then he engaged in tapasya or in penance. And how did he engage in penance? With full attention, mana. So, so many devotees have spoken prior to this very nicely, giving the context in which this topic is appearing. This is setting the scene for Lord Brahma or the Supreme Lord to speak with Lord Brahma. And the background we have already heard being discussed by many devotees. And here it is stated, it's very, very, very wonderful topic, subject matter about tapasya. And in fact, Lakshmikanta Prabhu yesterday asked a very pertinent question as well. And Srimad Bhagavatam, Srila Prabhupada speaks through Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam answers our questions the moment the questions are raised. And I could see that question, what Lingaraju raised, was raised by Srila Prabhupada, and he answers that in one of the purports. the whole topic of penance is so relevant to our progress in our spiritual life. So let us take a look at this purport and first highlight the main points here. The Lord Brahma, having born within the lotus as the first living entity, he looked around and he couldn't find, he went down through the stem of the lotus, he didn't find any source of it. And what did he do? It stated that Lord Brahma understood the instruction of tapa. Tapa, it came from the Supreme Lord. He understood that very clearly. And then what did he do? He sat down firmly. His sadhana was not like, looking around or distracted sadhana. He sat down firmly and he gave full attention. It is stated he gave his with mana. He gave full attention to his sadhana while he was executing this penance, as he was instructed by the Lord. The Lord said tapa. So it's very interesting. In the first paragraph purport, Srila Prabhupada ends it by saying, the Lord can similarly initiate everyone who is inclined to have it. But in the following paragraph of the purport, Srila Prabhupada speaks about the qualification to be, somebody has to be pure in heart. So how is it possible? Anyone can get instruction, but at the same time, direct instruction from the Lord comes only those who are pure in heart. And yet it is accessible to everybody through the media of the Lord's representative. It's very fascinating the way this whole theme evolves. So the first part of the purport, Prabhupada talks about one should follow the example of Lord Brahma. So we need to think, what was it that Lord Brahma did? First of all, because of his purity of heart, Krishna gave him the instruction, tapa. And what did Lord Brahma do? He didn't waste much time after that. He understood it is the Lord. He knew he should execute the instruction. So he sat down firmly. He sat down firmly on his lotus seat and the lotus flower, and he started his penance with full attention. And so that was not only with full attention, with full determination. And it was not for a short time period. He executed the penance for 1,000 celestial years. And we are talking about a pure living entity empowered by the Lord, Lord Brahma, 1,000 celestial years. With rapt attention, he executed the instruction of the Lord. This is very interesting to pay attention to what Prabhupada is writing. So then he speaks of, Srila Prabhupada speaks, first canto, first chapter, first verse, Lord had already instructed Brahma within his heart. It is said, Tene Brahma Hridaye Adikave. So Brahma was first initiated by the Lord from within. So the Vedic knowledge was imparted to the heart of Lord Brahma. And we know the Lord is present in our heart also as the super soul. But he initiated Brahma, again here also by saying tapa. Why was it that he directly initiated Brahma? Because of the special qualification of Lord Brahma. Lord Brahma was pure in his heart. So Srila Prabhupada says, Lord can also similarly instruct anyone who is willing to receive such an instruction. But then again, there is a qualification required. Then Prabhupada continues to speak about importance of disciplic succession. We are following Brahma, Madhva, Gaudiya, Sampradaya. So Lord Brahma was the first living entity, and therefore we can say he is the original spiritual master of this whole universe in which we are existing. So that tells you about the importance of our Sampradaya. It tells you the reason why we have to follow the example of Lord Brahma and how we should execute our tapasya, how should we firmly engage ourselves in our sadhana, All these things are contained within this purport. But also Prabhupada is saying, no one in the current age is as pure as Lord Brahma. Because Lord Brahma was the most pure human being. So there are few different points here. The distinct points are, Lord is directly instructing Lord Brahma what to do. Brahma is firmly executing that instruction for 1,000 celestial years. And Brahma is a devotee with the pure heart. And so he was able to receive the instruction and execute the instruction as well. So not only empowerment came from Krishna, the ability to execute also came. So, but Prabhupada is giving us this hope. That same facility, that same facility is available for us also through the media of the unalloyed devotees of the Lord. We have access to the devotees, and also we have access to the scriptures, and we have access to the bona fide spiritual master, who is the confidential representative of the Lord. So then the question is, the instruction coming from the spiritual master, are we executing it exactly as Lord Brahma did? So that is the question. And how did Lord Brahma do it? With rapt attention. And so then it's so interesting that Lakshmikanta Prabhu's question about yesterday, he said, even for attaining material benefits, people have to execute penance. And now we have to execute penance for attainment of spiritual perfection as well. The answer to that comes in some future verses in the same chapter. And one of the verses, the translation reads, what is penance? And the Lord is saying, penance is my heart and soul. Pay attention. Penance is my heart and soul. Therefore, penance and I are non-different. So Lord instructed Brahma to do tapasya. When Brahma was perplexed in his duty, as he did not know what to do, and therefore Lord came and instructed. And in the purport, Prabhupada's purport is so packed. He says, tenets of devotional service includes knowledge and detachment. And that is the manifestation of the transcendental potency of the Lord. Penance in devotional service, either by voluntary submission or by being forced by the Lord. So the penance happens for a devotee who voluntarily submits, or sometimes the Lord will put you in that place. If you are qualified, he will put you in that place to go through that penance, whichever way it happens. That penance is necessary for attaining perfection, and thus such penance is the internal potency of the Lord. It is not the penance shown by the people who want to attain some materialistic goal. It's different, because this one is internal potency of the Lord. But still, the answer comes for the question a little bit later. Another part of the purport, it says, one cannot, however, be engaged in the penance of devotional service without being completely free from sin. So the interesting thing is, penance is the Lord himself. It is the heart of the Lord, if it is done to please the Lord. But to perform the penance, one should be pure in heart. And without being completely free from the sins, one cannot execute also. So Brahma was sinless, and therefore he was able to faithfully discharge the advice of the Lord, which was tapa. Lord became satisfied with him, and he awarded the result. What was the result? The Lord made the spiritual world visible to Lord Brahma. So Prabhupada writes a very punch sentence there. He says, therefore, only love and penance combined can please the Lord. Premanjanarchudita bhakti vilochanena. Prema is necessary. Love and penance is essential. Combination of love and penance is required. Therefore, love and penance combined can please the Lord. He directs the sinless, and the sinless devotee attains the highest perfection of life. So in another purport, which Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur speaks about this subject, that when austerity is performed for attaining Krishna, then Krishna, in that context, Krishna says, when austerity is performed to attain him, then it is Krishna's own heart, but not otherwise. If austerity is performed for some other purpose, it is just like a dead body. That is the word. Austerity without life. So austerity performed for Krishna is his internal potency. Austerity performed for anything else is just like a dead body. So that is the difference between the two types of austerities. So even though we can raise this question, even though Brahma performed this austerity, he was also desiring to create this universe, but how is it that it was a pure desire? Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur writes that because Brahma creating the universe was the desire of the Lord himself. The Lord implanted that desire in the heart of Brahma. So Brahma, it is not like us thinking like, okay, I want to do this, I want to do that. That was not Brahma's mentality. Brahma's desire came because of the Lord wanting him to do that service. And therefore, he was doing it to please the Lord. So it is, in fact, one can say Brahma's desire, he was performing that duty, was not his own desire. He had no personal motivation in doing that. And because of that, Krishna was so pleased. He gave him that result immediately. And the next verse in Srimad Bhagavatam, it is stated, the Lord is saying, the Lord creates cosmos by penance. The Lord creates cosmos by penance. He maintains it by that same energy. He dissolves it by the same energy. So the penance is the energy that is coming out of penance is that which the Lord himself is using. Therefore, the potential power to do anything is only in penance. This is why penance is so important. Nothing can be accomplished without penance. So in the purport again, Prabhupada answers Lakshmikanta Prabhu's question so perfectly. Listen to this. Prabhupada writes, even for material prosperity, name, fame, one has to undergo severe type of penance. Prabhupada raises the question. He says, why then there are severe type of penance for the perfection of devotional service? So even for material purposes, nothing, even to get a master's degree, you have to undergo some sort of penance. So the question is, why are there severe type of penance for the perfection of devotional service? What is the difference anyways? So the answer, Lakshmikanta Prabhu, is, Prabhupada gives, Lord is more clever than any living entity. Therefore, he wants to see how painstaking the devotee is in devotional service. So the Lord's attitude is, you people, you are willing to undertake any amount of penance for making material gains or collecting money or doing so many things in this world. You are willing to take any amount of penance. But I want to see how much of penance you are willing to undertake for my sake. So the Lord is clever. This is what Prabhupada writes. The Lord is more clever than any living entity, and therefore he wants to see how painstaking the devotee is in devotional service. So when we come across some small obstacles in our services, in our temple, for example, people get so mad and they are willing to kill each other, and or somebody gets so mad and they say, I'm walking out of this. The point is, the Lord is testing you. What are you going to do? Are you going to walk out of this situation, or are you going to put up with that, sit there and do what you are supposed to do? That is the Lord. So the order received from the Lord. So sometimes for a personality like Lord Brahma, the order comes directly to him. Why? Because of the purity of his heart. But for ordinary people like us, we are not sinless, we are not pure. But still, that same mercy is available to us through the spiritual master. But what do we have to do? We have to do this exact same thing that Lord Brahma did. He just sat down. Just that word, he sat on his lotus feet. Just to think about it. How many people can sit down quietly and execute this chanting of the holy name, this tapasya that is given to us? Just to look within ourselves and see. 5 minutes you sit down. Your mind is all over the place. Your body will not keep quiet. And all kinds of things come in between. That's not what tapasya is. Tapasya is something much more than that. So now, this brings us to attentive bhajana kriya. Attentive bhajana, that is tapasya. It's not like some kind of a joke. It's not like, okay, so because you promised to your spiritual master, I'm going to chant 16 rounds a day, somehow count the beats and just get lost. That's not what it is. So really cultivating attentiveness in the bhajana, and that is the essence of bhakti yoga. And this is the penance that Lord Brahma taught us. So this attentiveness, it does not come all of a sudden. It comes in stages. And when it is done in stages, it brings about some results also. So an example, couple of examples I picked. One example is that of Prahlad Maharaj. So when Prahlad Maharaj was brought in front of Lord Narsinghadev, the demigods, they could not pacify Narsinghadev after he killed Hiranyakashipu. And they approached Prahlad Maharaj. He was brought there to pacify Narsinghadev. And in that context, it is stated, the Prahlad Maharaj, what did he do? He became very attentive. His mind was fixed on his mission. And what was his mission? His mission was to glorify the Lord with offering prayers. So he became attentive. His mind was fixed on his mission of offering prayers. So Prabhupada says in the purport, the ability to fix the mind in this way is the result of yoga siddhi or mystic perfection. The ability to fix the mind in this way is the result of yoga siddhi or mystic perfection. So it is samadhi. It takes a lot of practice to come to that point. Of course, we cannot compare ourselves with Prahlad Maharaj, but that was mystic perfection. And it takes a lot of practice to come to that type of samadhi. And Prahlad Maharaj was able to fulfill his desire by offering appropriate prayers. And because of attentiveness, it facilitated his determination. That's what happened. Another example is that of Lord Shiva. He instructed Prachetas. In that prayer, in the concluding part of it, there is the clear indication, the emphasis is given, there's a connection between attentiveness and the speed with which one will receive the result. attentiveness and the speed with which one will receive the result. The prayer ends like this. Adetam nityada yukto japan avahita puman achirat shreya apnodi vasudeva parayana. Achirat shreya apnoti. Achieve auspiciousness very soon. Achira, very soon. Japan avahita puman. The meaning of the verse is a devotee of Krishna whose mind is always absorbed in him, who, with great attention and reverence, chants this stotra or prayer, will achieve the greatest perfection of life without delay. Without delay. So Prahlad Maharaj's level of attention was known as Samadhi. Similarly, Prabhupada writes in the purport, so the degree, Prabhupada writes, degree of attentiveness that a devotee is able to muster depend upon the purity of the devotee's heart. Prahlad Maharaj's heart was pure. He was able to do that. And of course, you can see that every single time he was tortured, and whether it was in a pit full of snakes or thrown in the fire or anywhere, he was absorbed in samadhi. He was a pure-hearted devotee. Similarly, Lord Brahma was also a pure-hearted devotee. Now, there's a lot more to be said on this topic, but I'm going to conclude it here with a comprehensive look at what transpired for Lord Brahma. So Lord Brahma, as other devotees have spoken in the past, he was seated in the lotus flower and he did not know where he was. He looked around, he went down the stem, he didn't find the source. Then he came, sat down, and then he heard this instruction from the Lord, and he executed that instruction perfectly. And the result came. Even though here in the other purport it was stated that results comes quickly, but it was 1,000 celestial years Brahma executed that attentive sadhana. And at the end of it, what was the result? He was able to see. He was able to see the spiritual world. That was the result. And then we know in Brahma Samhita, Lord Brahma's glorification of the Lord. And at the end, after Sri Akanta verse, there are 5 verses where Lord Vishnu is speaking to Brahma. And I love these verses so much. I'm going to read this, and here you will see Lord, the Supreme Lord was so pleased with Brahma, seeing how pure at heart he was. And therefore, the Lord gives him direct instruction. And not only that, after giving the vision of the spiritual world, again, the Lord tells to Brahma how to execute his function. And these verses are so sweet. The Lord says, Adhovacha Mahavishnur Bhagavantam Prajapadim Brahman Mahatva Vitnane Prajasarkecha Senmati Panchaslokim Imam Vidyam Vastudatham Nibodhame Prabhuddhetnana Bhaktibhyam Atmanyananda Chinmayi Udetyanuttama Bhaktir Bhagavat Prema Lakshanat Pramanaistat Sadacharais Tad Abhyasair Nirantaram Bodhayannatmanatmanam Bhaktim Apyuttamam Labhet Yasya Shreyaskaram Nasti Yasya Nirvrittim Apnuyat Yasadhyadi Mam Eva Bhaktim Tam Eva Sadhayet Dharmananyan Parityajya Mamekam Bhaja Vishwasan Yadrishi Shraddha Siddhir Bhavadi Tadrishi Kurvan Nirantaram Karma Lokoyam vartade tenaiva karmana dhyayan mam param bhakti michati. So the translation very quickly is the Lord is saying, on hearing these hymns, that is the hymns offered by Lord Brahma, the essence of the truth, the Supreme Lord Krishna said to Brahma, Brahma, if you experience the inclination to create offspring by being endowed with the real knowledge of the glory of Godhead, listen, my beloved, from me to this science set forth in the following 5 slokas. When the pure spiritual experience is excited by the means of cognition and service, spiritual experience is excited by the means of cognition and service. Service is bhakti. At that time, what happens? Super excellent, unalloyed devotion, characterized by the love for Godhead, is awakened towards Krishna, the beloved of all souls. So spiritual experience is excited by cognition and service in very, very conscious way of doing service. And that's when the spiritual experience is excited. At that time, love for Krishna will emerge. And then the highest devotion, how does one get there? So this is the thing, purity of heart, necessary for receiving instruction. So to see purity of heart, one has to work towards that. And how do you work towards that? Not in one stretch. It goes systematically. It says the highest devotion is attained by slow degrees, by the method of constant endeavor for self-realization with the help of what? Scriptural evidence, theistic conduct, and perseverance of practice. Scriptural evidence, theistic conduct, and perseverance of practice. Theistic conduct means every devotee should behave like a devotee. That's a big subject. Behaving like a devotee is not simple. One has to be so consciously behaving like a devotee. Scriptural evidence, this is why this Bhagavatam is here, scriptural evidence, and perseverance in practice. So it's not like a mindless, just run around wild. It is a mindful practice. And then the Lord says, what happens? These preliminary practices of devotion, which is what we are doing, sadhana bhakti, are conducive to the realization of loving devotion. Then the translation is a little bit kind of not on the dot. Then whom there is no superior well-being, meaning there is nothing superior to loving devotion. That loving devotion goes hand in hand with the attainment of the exclusive state of supreme bliss that can lead one to Krishna. I'm just translating it in a little simpler way because the translation here is not that straightforward. And therefore, the Lord is saying, abandoning all meritorious performance. So there are so many things that we can do in our life. He's saying, abandoning all meritorious performance, serve me with faith. The realization will correspond to the nature of one's faith. The people of this world act ceaselessly in pursuance of some ideal. This was Lakshmi Kanda Prabhu's the question is like, people put in so much of austerity in pursuance of many other things in this world. And that is never going to stop. But the Lord also giving an answer how that can be dovetailed. He says, the people of the world act ceaselessly in pursuance of some ideal. By meditating on me by means of those deeds, one will obtain devotion characterized by love in the shape of supreme service. One will attain devotion characterized by love in the shape of supreme service. Even at that stage, even when we dovetail our worldly accomplishments to serve the Supreme Lord, which will purify our existence. And even then, what is the result? The result will come in the shape of supreme service. There is no, it's not like, it doesn't mean like, okay, because we did such and such and thing, and then immediately there is no more service. I can happily sit somewhere and not do anything at all. Or, complaining about each other or being worried about this, that, and the other. No, you will attain that love for Krishna in the form of service. So anyway, this topic is so fascinating. It is so fascinating. Yesterday night, I just was reading and I couldn't stop reading this because just you can read on this subject matter and you can just sit and think about it, and it makes you feel so happy. Just thinking about the instruction given by the Lord, how the Lord Brahma executed it, how the instruction is given to us by our spiritual master. How do we execute it in our life? It was such a fulfilling thing. And the moment Lakshmikanta Prabhu asked that question yesterday, I was thinking about that question. And then I was reading this verse, and then all of these answers are there in Srila Prabhupada's purport. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Srimad Bhagavatam, and all glories to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, all glories to Srimati Radharani, the Queen of Vrindavan, who is the presiding deity for this month of Kartik. And thank you for giving me this opportunity to just relish this particular topic on penance, or what to say. It is the topic on how to execute one's sadhana. Tapasya. It's a lot to think about. Thank you all. I'll stop it there. I took extra time because it was very exciting.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Yes. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much for a very, all perspective answer. I was not expecting this much detailed answer when yesterday. Sorry, Mataji. I think I'm hearing resound and I'm speaking. So
I know, that's fine. No. That's what I'm saying. Bhagavatam speaks, right?
yes.
Prabhupada speaks. That's what it is.
Thank you so much, Mataji. It was very nice. The Lord himself is the penance. One has to do penance to achieve anything, right? Either voluntarily or by force, right?
Yes, the Lord will force you, provided you are a pure-hearted devotee. But the Lord will not put anyone in any trouble if we are not able to handle that. But whether Lord forces a pure-hearted devotee or an ordinary person like us voluntarily accept some penance, it doesn't matter. But penance is required.
Right.
Penance is required, and penance is the body of the Lord, and penance meant for developing love for the Lord is Lord himself. But otherwise, any other type of penance is just like a dead body.
Yes. Thank you so much.
I liked the part where it is said, Lord Brahma sat down firmly on the lotus. Yes, there is a lot to think about there. Let us begin by sitting down firmly one spot without moving, and is able to execute the sadhana. That itself is something to think a lot about, and really to execute it, we have to begin. And 1,000 celestial years for Lord Brahma, lot to think about that as well.
Yes.
Thank you. Anyone else have any comments, questions, or anything else?
Hare Krishna, Mataji. This is Vamsi Daridas. Please accept my humble obeisances, Mataji. All close to Shri Prabhupada.
Accept my obeisance to all glories. Yes.
I've been just thinking about only two questions when I was going through the discussion, Mataji. So what is that penance? The penance means that bringing back the mind. And
penance is the whole process of the penance given to us is that which is connecting us with the Lord is this process of chanting, our sadhana. That is our penance.
okay.
And execution of sadhana also requires service, right? So minus service, there is no sadhana, right? And Prabhupada says in one of the purport, along with the penance, there is also one has to execute the sadhana as well. Sadhana, along with sadhana, one has to execute service as well.
It's bringing a different question, but I will continue with the previous one, Mataji. So, executing a penance means executing the sadhana. Then we're also hearing that, if one is not purified enough, they will have a struggle in it.
Right. Yes.
Okay.
That is the catch-22, and that is the beauty of this whole thing is that. And so then how do you do that? And so then if there is in the purport itself, the answer is there that one has to systematically, like it is practice which makes it perfect. It's quite clear. Practice makes it perfect. And in fact, this last verse of Brahma Samhita, the Lord is saying, you have to steadily do this. You have to in small steps. Lord Himself is saying that. What is it?
Small steps.
Yeah, take small steps, but it has to be systematic, and that's where this thing comes. Penance. That's penance, because if you don't have tapasya, you will never be able to execute anything. Whether it is chanting or whether it is reading, whether it is hearing, whether it is doing pot washing, you cannot do it. Yeah.
Okay. Wow. That's tapasya in terms of sadhana and tapasya in terms of service.
Everything.
Tapasya in terms of service.
That's the beauty of it. Yes.
Okay, Mataji. So then the second part question I was having is, like the service, does it mean, like I kind of understood doing the sadhana in the mode of service, but you're also emphasizing the service also. It looks like it, Mataji. Could you help me understand that, Mataji?
Service is not only sadhana. See, it's a sevon mukhehi. We hear this word sevon mukhehi jihvadav, but that service is, using our mouth, chanting the names of the Lord. But service is also literally doing anything consistently for the sake of Lord. Like, for example, take this temple, right? Like we have so many services here. So if every devotee understands that, okay, whether it is stringing a garland or whether it is cleaning the floor or cooking, anything, this is my sadhana. This is my penance, because to cook so much food, it takes so much of energy, and a person is given this service and he comes and does like every single day, comes there and cooks forever, and so gets so tired. I'm sick and tired of this cooking. I don't want to cook. Okay. So that one should never reach that point, because every devotee should understand that, okay, this is my penance, this is my tapasya, and then you will be so happy to do this, because this is purifying me, because this is my tapasya. I always remember when Prabhupada Maharaj said that when they put him to wash the pots in the kitchen, he was very bright and intelligent, and he scrubbed the bottom of the pot until it was shining just like the inside. He said that story many times in many classes. And so it was coming to my mind that, this is like such a determination to not doing it because, okay, so somebody asked me to do this, and so now I have to somehow do this thing, and I'm so sick and tired of this, right? I'm so sick that these people are treating me like slave. right? Because I'm washing the pot and I'm given pot washing forever, and I'm sick and tired of that. That is one thing. The other thing is like, okay, my pot washing is like, this is my tapasya, and this is helping me to come closer to the Lord. And when a person is doing that service in that mentality, the whole temple atmosphere will change. And this is where the scripture is coming into the picture. The scriptures will assist us in getting that point nailed, nailed in the right place, that the scriptures will assist us to get to the right perception, right understanding of what is the purpose of service.
Okay.
What is the purpose of anything? Is somebody who is sitting there and chanting alone is doing the service? No. The temple where we serve the guest who is coming there, so many people need to do so many things to accomplish that. And it's a place where we are distributing the knowledge about the Lord. And if we don't treat our guest properly, what is the use of having a temple? And it takes the energy of so many devotees, and every single devotee counts. And if every single devotee understands that while doing this physical labor, literally taking so much energy while doing this, there is a purification that is happening. That then the whole concept, everything changes. Otherwise, somebody will think only if I sit down and chant the mantra, then purification takes place. Yes, when you are chanting the Maha Mantra, it does. But even now, let us think about chanting the Maha Mantra. Cultivating attentiveness is the essence of the process of bhakti. Attentiveness in anything, whether it is pot washing, like what Maharaj was talking about, or whether it is chanting japa, attentiveness is attentiveness anyways, right? Yeah.
Okay. So basically the sadhana looks to be on the top, and then if one is doing service, if they can do it in the mode of tapasya, it is for my own purification and for my own welfare, then the whole community and culture will be so attractive and so nice.
The whole process is attractive. And this is why service was offered by Srila Prabhupada, all type of service. It's not to make a slave of people, right? It's that this is necessary. Service is necessary. We cannot let go of anything, but everything needed to be executed with attentiveness. And this is why the prayer of Lord Shiva, the end of the verse, the instructions to the prachetas, there, Lord Shiva's prayer really connects. He summarizes that the relationship between that determination and the outcome, the result. If you attentively do this, you will immediately attain the result. Attentively do, but inattentively doing it without, like many times when we do services, we get mad with each other, or some misunderstanding, somebody gets angry. I mean, this is all
because one has come to the peak. One has come to the peak of their capacity.
Yeah, I mean, somebody irritates us, and you get mad with that person and all that. We forget that here we may have some obstacles, but still we have to do what we have to do. Why? It is for our own purification we are doing this. That does not mean you are going through this whole never doing anything mechanically. Doing anything is not going to help at all.
That's what makes it the problem.
Yeah, yeah.
Got it, Mathaji.
I really enjoyed just reading. I really enjoyed reading this. Of course, every topic in Bhagavatam is so wonderful, but anyway, yes, I think a lot more can be said about this, and it took a long time. Thank you so much. Dingraj Prabhu, I think I have gone above and beyond the time so much.
No problem with this.
Hare Krishna. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.
What?